Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do a video for you guys and gals. Let me get a sip of my water first. Get my radio voice going and let's talk about this. All right, this is one of those topics to where for some reason, people in the fitness world, a few of them have chosen to perpetuate something that has been debunked, that's not real, that's made fun of in science. Like if you were to even bring this up, you would just be laughed at. And when I say it's debunked, I mean it's been debunked like 60 years ago. I mean, again, this was never real science, and that is this idea that there are endomorphs, mesomorphs, and ectomorphs. Now, you get people who say silly stuff like, but I see people who fit these categories. You mean you see people whose lifestyle makes them either obese, makes them really skinny, or makes them muscular and jacked. Okay, you're seeing people's lifestyle. The problem with these body structures is that there's this implication that came with it that it's genetic and that it's part of your body structure. In other words, the idea with a lot of it when it was first proposed, and this is what people have continued to try to do in some of the bodybuilding and fitness world, they tried to propose that, well, endomorphs have a bigger, thicker frame on top of it, right? So they're big boned. We know that's nonsense. Because when you've seen a morbidly obese person who gets really skinny, they look like, if they've lost weight, they look like a quote ectomorph. Okay, it's not true. Same thing. Well, an ectomorph is someone who's really skinny and it's hard for them to gain muscle because they have a light frame. No, they're just skinny. Oftentimes they're lanky because sometimes they're tall. But what happens when they lift weights? The ectomorph turns into some of the biggest, strongest people on the face of the earth. And this is what people don't get. And I mean, you're a classic example. All right. If someone doesn't believe that an ectomorph turns into a mesomorph with lifestyle change, look no further than the mountain Gregor Clegane from Game of Thrones, also the real world known as Hathor, right? Did over a 500 kilogram deadlift while weighing over 400 pounds. Guy was like as big as 6'8", something like 430 pounds. Does he look like an ectomorph? People say, no, that's the exact opposite. But if you go by genetics, then he is, because in high school, he was a skinny, lanky, underweight basketball player. Was he not? So do people understand the issue with this? This is all lifestyle. The problem is that because it's an old, outdated concept that for some reason bodybuilding books and magazines chose to pick up after it had been debunked. It came out of phrenology. It was used like studying criminals in prison. Some psychologist came up with this concept and started applying it. And he was trying to find personality traits linked to body structure, and he came up with these concepts. And then where people get it more diluted, they're like, okay, well, people are a different mix of them. And yeah, because you got to make all sorts of crazy mixes because these things aren't real. Do different people have slightly different bone structures? Of course we do. Yes, people have different bone structures. But if you start basing it on bone thickness, look, I got little bitty small wrists. I'm not an ectomorph. And as a little kid, I was skinny. You know why? Because I was sick. I had some medical issues as a child. Tend to be underweight as a result. I was skinny for a long time. Then I got bigger and thicker. But just in general, this whole idea it's complete nonsense. It's been debunked because you've seen people go through the whole gamut of the structures. Because their lifestyle changes. And the problem is that it tries to make people think that they're predisposed to these conditions. The only one that might have some degree of truth when people say, well, maybe there's some people who are more mesomorphic. Well, no, they're not mesomorphic because these are fake things. They're not real. Are there people who are genetically prone to gaining muscle a bit better? Absolutely. Do they have better muscle insertions and look more like a bodybuilder more easily? Yes, of course they do. Those are relatively rare individuals, though. So you're going to take a 1% of the population statistical outlier and try to pretend that proves a debunked silly theory. Like, you can't just say, some outlier somewhere in the world proves this theory that all people fall into these categories and that they're real categories because some people gain muscle easier. Come on. Because a tiny segment of the population, that doesn't fit with the whole big picture, though. And then we have the whole issue of why did we all change into endomorphs? Are people implying when they say this? I mean, use some common sense. Let's not even go to the fact that it's laughed at and debunked and not based on real science. The proof is in front of you. All right, look at America right now. Okay? Look at our obesity rate. As a society, America has turned into what people would try to say, well, they're just endomorphs. No, we're just fat. And you want the proof it's not genetic? Go look at the grandparents of any of these people, the great-grandparents of any of these people. So you're telling me if they came from more impoverished, because again, the U.S. is a country of immigrants. We all understand this, right? My family are immigrants. So you look at it from that perspective, so then you trace them back. Or is everyone saying that all these people who were skinnier during the Great Depression, whose ancestors were here, and they all lost weight and got skinnier? So, well, if you look at those pictures from that time, all those people's ancestors were ectomorphs, so then they should all genetically be ectomorphs, all these obese people. You go back and look at all different people who are immigrants from different regions, and if they came from slightly poorer countries, see all these ectomorphs. If you want to use that term, then they've come to America and their genes changed. Their bone structures and genetics changed by moving to America? No, the lifestyle changed. It is environment and lifestyle. It is not genetic traits that people are born with, okay? It is lifestyle combined with environment, because your environment impacts your lifestyle on a massive level. Hopefully we all understand this. Right? Unless you're going to get into certain things with social Darwinism, then you hopefully understand that environment has an enormous impact on behaviors. Okay? Not just genetic. All right, and that includes everything from crime rates to all sorts of stuff. Environmental influences. Body type, everything. So again, this is a silly debunked idea, and if you have any influencer out there who is telling you this is a real thing and it's not debunked, they're lying to you. They're ignorant. They read some book from the 1980s in the bodybuilding world and didn't bother to investigate further and took it at face value. Therefore, they're probably ignorant. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.